Yorushika released a song called Haru. 2 characters. 1 kanji, 1 hiragana. The official English subtitle calls it sunny. If you've studied modern Japanese, something should already feel wrong. Because the word for to clear up is haru, with an ri. The form without ri, just haru, doesn't appear in conversation. It doesn't appear in news writing. It doesn't appear in manga dialogue or textbooks. It appears in Heian-era poetry. And almost nowhere else. So before you've pressed play, the title is already doing 2 things, telling you this song is consciously old, and I want you to hear the sound haru doing more than one job. The subtitle sunny catches one meaning. It gently lets the other 4 slip away. This video is about the 4 the subtitle had no room for. Haru is the opening theme for the second core of the anime Frieren, Beyond Journey's End, in Japanese, So no Frieren. It dropped as a single on January 5, 2024. Quick piece of context before the title fully lands. The 2 central names in Frieren are both German words. Frieren is German for to freeze. It's the name of the elf protagonist, an immortal who has watched centuries drift by without noticing. Himmel is German for sky. Or heaven. It's the name of the human hero who loved her. By the time the story opens, Himmel has been dead for decades. The entire series is a meditation on warmth that comes too late. Freeze meets sky. Sky dies. Freeze begins, 80 years later, to thaw. Hold on to those 2 words. Freeze. Sky. We'll come back to them. The word haru, spoken aloud, can be at least 4 different things in Japanese. Each one has its own kanji. Each one carries its own emotional weight.
Haru.
Spring, the season.
Haru.
The classical verb, to clear up, to dispel clouds, to lift a heavy heart.
Haru.
To stretch, to strain, to pull taut.
Haru.
To paste, to stick. A photograph. A note on a wall. N-buna, Yorushika's lyricist, picked the second one, in writing. But he picked it as a classical verb, not the modern haru. And that choice does 3 things at once. First, the kanji haru locks in clearing as the primary meaning. Not spring. Not stretching. The ice settles. Second, using shimonaiden kasuyo, a classical conjugation pattern that died out of everyday Japanese centuries ago, is like writing a pop song in Shakespearean English. Thou art sunlit instead of you're bright. A Japanese reader recognizes the register instantly. This is consciously literary. Consciously old. Third, even with the kanji pinning down one meaning, the ear still hears haru, spring, and haru, to strain, glimmering underneath. The poem pivots. The eye and the ear disagree on purpose. And then there's the 4th thing. The one that only lands if you remember the show's names are German. How do you say blue sky in German? Blar Himmel. The hero's name. The beloved dead man. The song's title, rendered into the language the show takes its names from, literally spells out the dead hero. This is the moment where the subtitle sunny becomes an act of mercy. There is simply no English word that can carry classical grammar, plus 4 homophones, plus a bilingual pun on a dead character's name. So the subtitler picks sunny, and we lose the other 4 layers for the convenience of a readable line. This isn't a failure of translation. It's a structural impossibility. Once you know the moves, Japanese lyricists do this constantly. Especially writers with literary pretensions, Yorushika, Vondi, Zudomeo, Mr. Children, sometimes Yosobi. 3 signals to watch for. Signal 1. Classical grammar in a modern song. If you see a verb form that doesn't match modern Japanese, haru instead of haru, ari instead of aru, mu instead of yo, the writer is reaching for a pre-modern register on purpose. That reach is almost always carrying extra meaning. Signal 2. Words written in katakana or hiragana when kanji would be expected. A noun like Haru written Haru, or aim written aim, strips the meaning back to pure sound. The writer is refusing to commit to one kanji, asking you to hold several readings at once. This is Kakekotoba, pivot words. We'll come back to it in a minute. It's been the bedrock of Japanese verse since the 9th century. Signal 3. Compound emotional words with multiple kanji options. Kanashii, a feeling somewhere between sadness and longing, can be written 3 ways. Kanashii is plain sad. Kanashii carries a heavier, more mournful weight. Kanashii, same sound, means beloved, dear. The sound is identical. The kanji is the emotional disclosure. For learners around the N4 or N3 level, these moves are the moment Japanese stops feeling like a code to crack and starts feeling like a language with rooms you can wander through. If you want to hear the rhythm of classical Japanese spoken aloud, in real conversation, not in textbooks, the fastest way is a trial lesson with a native tutor who actually loves this stuff. Italki lets you filter teachers by interests. Search for ones who list classical Japanese, song lyrics, or literature. Tell them you want to read a Yorushika lyric out loud together. They will love it. Affiliate link is in the description. It supports the channel at no extra cost to you. Pivot word poetry isn't a J-pop trick. It's older than the printing press. Older than samurai. Older than the hiragana script being fully standardized. The first major canonized use shows up in the Koken Wakashu, the imperial poetry anthology compiled around 905 CE. One of its most famous poems, by a court poet named Ono no Kamachi, hinges entirely on pivot words.
花の色は移りにけりな。いたずらに我が身世に降る眺めせしまに。
2 pivots. Furu means both furu, to pass, as in time passing, and furu, to fall, as in rain falling. Nagame means both nagame, to gaze pensively, and nagame, long rain. Read one way, the poem is about a woman lamenting that her beauty has faded while she stared at the world. Read the other way, it's about flower colors washed out by long spring rains. Both meanings are intended. Both are correct. The poem's grief lives in the overlap. This is the tradition n-buna inherits when he titles a song Haru instead of Haru. He isn't being clever for cleverness' sake. He is writing in a 1,000-year-old register, where a single sound is allowed to carry whole weather systems of meaning. And, in his case, extending that register one more step to include a German loan name for a dead hero. Read modern J-pop with this lineage in mind and the lyrics stop being anime soundtracks. They start being something closer to what they actually are, contemporary Japanese poetry, descended in a direct line from Kamachi. Now expanded to carry languages she never could have imagined. Before you go, 3 songs to practice on. Pick one and try to read the title the way we just read Haru. 1. Yorushika Again, Tada Kimi ni Hair, from 2018. Same verb root as Haru. Written in the modern hair form. Watch the same writer use the same word with a tighter, more contemporary emotional range, 6 years before Haru. 2. Vondi, Homunculus, from 2024. Pure katakana. For a loanword that has no native kanji. Ask yourself, what is the script choice doing for the mood that writing it in hiragana, homunkurusu, would not? 3. Kenshur Yonazu, Lemon, from 2018. A Japanese song with an English letter title. A Japanese reader still hears the ghost of Ramon, Kaji Motojiro's 1925 literary short story about a lemon in a bookshop. The writer refused all 3 scripts on purpose. That refusal is the message. Next time on Beyond the Subtitles, Yorushika's Hana ni Bure from 2020. Bure isn't quite ghost, it's a memory still strong enough to be felt. We'll trace how n-buna writes about loss without ever naming it. Subscribe if you want to see it. Link in the description if you'd like to read the long-form breakdown on Substack. And if you found this useful, drop a comment with a J-pop title whose script choice you've always wondered about. I read all of them. Thanks for watching. See you in 2 weeks.